Yo, what's up, East Coast FGC? I'm here joined by Brandon and Johnny. Unfortunately, it's kind of a pretty somber day for a lot of us. We have returned once again to yet another edition of Nintendo trying to fuck over the Melee community. It has happened. Publicly speaking, probably the last time most people know about it was like Big House 10. They shut down the Slippy stuff, and then of course famously they tried to take down Evo 2013. We all managed to get that sorted over, but we're back once again. Nintendo has shut down the Smash World Tour 2022 finale. There is a lot to unpack with exactly how it all went down. So I guess just to start off the discussion, I guess we'll just talk about the timeline of exactly what happened from the beginning. If y'all don't know, there was actually a big second entity that contributed to Nintendo canceling the event, and that was Panda. Panda's the Panda Cup was partnered with Nintendo. They had this, and it was a really big deal. And like everyone was popping off because it's like, oh shit, like we actually finally have like a Nintendo circuit. A lot of people, including myself, were also sketched out by the whole thing because like we all like know about how Nintendo is, and I remember in the very beginning there was a lot of like paranoia or whatever. But over time, like it seemed like things were chilled out, and like we got some big sponsors like Panda Express, Papa John's, a bunch of big sponsors also went into the Panda Cup or whatever. So it was like this
And
really big deal.
HyperX, I don't know. I
Yeah,
know they tend to sponsor a lot of stuff.
yeah. But it was like this big deal. But like it was like on the coast side with like the Smash World Tour. They're like two different circuits, but like Smash World Tour was like the, I guess, kind of like the more community ran one, while Panda Cup was more of like the official one. And things were all chill. And then literally 2 weeks away, like the night before Thanksgiving, Nintendo decided to softly, read between the lines, threaten Smash World Tour that like if they tried to do the event, they would get canceled or whatever. And Smash or VGBC made this giant post about it. During the post, and a lot of other people backed it up, it turns out that Panda was actually a really big contributing factor to pushing Nintendo to like kind of cancel the event. Like they were trying to like almost monopolize the community and monopolize the tournaments or whatever. So that's the broadest TLDR of the whole thing. I don't know if you had anything to add, Brandon, about like the timelines or anything that I missed.
Long story short, circuit comes out. Two circuits come out. I don't know if you pointed out that Panda has the Nintendo license. So I feel like that's a big deal.
Right, because that was like
that's why it's like
yeah, like the full specific story is that like Nintendo was like, yo, in order to stream Melee, you're gonna need to have a Nintendo license. And for a while, like that hasn't really been the case. Like that, I mean, because that's what it all boils down to, is that Nintendo just sent a cease and desist for the stream. Of course, that's a really big deal because that's like the source of like all of the money or whatever, especially for like the invitationals and the circuits, because there's no like venue fee or whatever. But for like most of Melee's like lifespan, like you haven't really needed to have the Nintendo license. Like we kind of just always been like separated, and like they kind of just let us do our thing. And like sometimes they would like, of course they shut us down multiple times or whatever. It was just kind of like, oh, like it's fine. But then in the beginning of the year, Smash World Tour, they were like, I think once Panda got their shit announced, they were like, yo, Smash World Tour, you're also gonna need to get a Nintendo license approved like next year or some shit.
yeah, they tried and they didn't hear back for months.
Yeah, and that's like the real fucking issue with Nintendo. Whenever they're just always slow to respond, which like it's a big ass company, so like I get it, but like that's why it was always such like I think that's why it was usually like they just didn't give a fuck, and they're like, all right, whatever. Like they literally just like didn't like comment on us a lot of the time, so it was like always like this chill thing to just like like Panda Cup, like they're doing like the big Nintendo stuff and they have the license, but like I guess like it was because they had like one official event, then like Smash World Tour needed to get the license, and then they were slow, and then they decided to wait till all the way to end to shut down the event or whatever. I mean I think besides like all of like the specific details of the timeline or whatever, I think the important part is just like it's just this really frustrating thing to have to constantly go through. I think it like just like it's just one of those things where like you could just take a step back and be like, y'all, like we're just playing video game. Like it's not complicated. It's not like we're not trying to do some crazy shit. We're not trying to like rep a brand or anything. Like so it's just like always this thing. And it's funny because like Ludwig brought it up in his summary of like the events or whatever. It's just weird, and I think people have also talked about how like it seems like Nintendo, it's just there's just so many different people involved that like it's not even like all of them necessarily agree with like what they're doing, because like I mean that's just how companies are, right? Like even with Panda, right? Even like though like the main CEO guy like was like this kind of power hungry motherfucker. Panda, like as a whole, like there's a lot of like very passionate people, and it's like, filled with a lot of like the grassroots scene. Like, it's like it's all like legit people and everything. And I think Nintendo is kind of the same thing because like according to Ludwig, there's like this rumor that for EVO 2013, like the only reason why Nintendo reversed the decision was because one of the wives of the executives of Nintendo saw all the Twitter stuff and was like, "Hey, can we like do something about that?" Because I think like I think at the end of the day, like whenever you just have like I think a lot of the time when these decisions get made, it's made by people who don't quite understand what's happening. Like they just know like, oh, like they're streaming our game and that's bad, like, or like they're doing stuff like unsanctioned by Nintendo or whatever. And so like there's just this giant like disconnect. And there's even this story about there's these two Nintendo employees that used to like, it's called Nintendo Treehouse, like they showed off like the games or whatever at E3. They talked about how there was this one time where they wanted to do a Nuzlocke, which is like a format of Pokemon where like you just like it's basically like if a Pokemon dies, it permanently dies, and you can only catch one Pokemon per area. It's like this very specific rule set that makes the game a lot harder. They were gonna do it as like a fun, like, oh, like let's do the same thing that all the community, like the people who like who really love Pokemon do, like these like like a more like a Nintendo official Nuzlocke. And they almost got fired when they suggested that idea because like the executives were like do not like never like they were so disconnected. They like assumed that it was like a mod or like they it was really confusing to them, but like they legit like were very close to losing their jobs. And they talked about it like after like they'd already left Nintendo or whatever. And I think that's just like such a common focal point of all of the things that happen related to Nintendo is that like random people that are in charge that have like no really like have no idea what's going on and like have like no real like understanding of things. And especially when it comes to like the passion of like the Melee community and like Smash in general, of course, not just Melee. A lot of the time, like that's like the thing that I think that's what makes the whole process so frustrating is that a lot of us are just here to have like just to play a game that we really fucking like. It's really rare to like even have like all like this big old group of people that like give a fuck about the same thing, and to like be shut down so consistently by people who literally have no idea what's happening is just such a frustrating thing in general.
To not helps like one thing I think to just actively sabotage. That's like
Yeah.
it's always when traction is built. When
right.
when you either get a lot of people or a sizable pod bonus or something, whatever it is, like anything that's like if the optics of it look promising, that's when they usually come and be like,
yeah,
nah.
exactly. I pulled up this one of like the big ones that happened. This is back in 2020. This is right after Big House 10 got canceled, the Slippy one. There's a big tweet longer posted by Anonymous Smasher 2, which was just like this completely anonymous account, like did not like disclose exactly who they were, but a lot of like the top, this was definitely like authenticated by a few people as like this is like legit what happened. And it just talks about all of these different like events that like could have happened for Melee, and they all got canceled by Nintendo. Probably the most like famous one that people like kind of know about is the Ninja circuit. When Ninja was like at his peak, like fucking top streamer or whatever, he really liked the Melee Docker. Like he was just like tangentially like involved with Melee, and he wanted to do this big circuit for us. And Nintendo was the reason why he didn't. Same with Red Bull, same with ESL, MLG. Like it's so frustrating because like like games like Call of Duty or whatever, like they have like really big scenes and have like a lot of dev support, but they don't have our viewership. They don't have like a lot of what Melee has. Like Melee is like could single-handedly be one of the biggest esports in the world, but we're just so constantly just cucked by Nintendo all the time. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's tough too, especially when like we provide attendance, viewership, the entertainment, all of it, but it's still just always shut down. It's always like I feel like it's always like right before something happens too. It's never like when shit is like steady, but or months in advance. It's always like, oh, and you got a tournament, let me cancel that shit an hour before the event.
Right. And it's always got to be some scramble.
I think the crazy part is like obviously Nintendo, like we know what to expect, but I think the worst part was with the Panda situation, right? Because like they let that facade that like, yo, we got this license and it's for the community. Like we're not like this just to be like that. You know what I'm saying? That's the crazy part. At least I can't speak for Panda. or at least what this dude Allen is being accused of. I don't even know what bro's gonna say. I've been thinking about like ain't shit you can say.
All of us are wondering what
Yeah.
he's gonna say.
I
People are
saw
saying like he's
TK said the shouts to. I agree. He's like, yo, I don't think you can say like what can you say other than just like, yeah, my bad.
yeah.
And it's coming from too many different sources for it not the whole way. And like, let's be real, like VGBC and BTS, they're not like the greatest of friends. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
I know, right?
and the fact that they did like the fucking fusion dance over here, like trying to, it's just like, yo, this shit is crazy. Like it's got to be real. If both of these parties are on the same page, and like I said, they're not actively against each other, but they just kind of like, yo, we
They've always been
coexist.
separate. Yeah, they've always
Right.
coexisted for like
Right. And
it's
I'd say BTS is more melee centric. VGBC is more
yeah.
ultimate centric. But regardless, their mission with Smash is the same. So they let each other, coexist. But the fact that they're like, yo, look, man, they try to shut us down. And then the other one's like, yeah, same here.
Yeah.
It's
Like
not
so many
gonna
people
work.
were like, "Yep, this guy did exactly this," and they're
Right.
all trusted sources. Like, damn, yeah.
Right. I think if it was just BTS, or no, not BTS, if it was just VGBC and no one else said this, I think Panda would have a lot more like leverage here.
Right.
Legally, they probably still do. I don't know, but
Yeah.
just online at least, it's just like, dude, once LD and everybody at BTS was like, yeah, that's facts. It was over.
I agree.
It's just like, yo, there ain't nothing you can really say, and it's like every major tournament, and it's almost scary to even like more so like because people always say it's scary to host a tournament because you don't want to get like and like that's true, but then it's just like, damn, do I even trust the sponsor? Do I trust going on to
right.
something like that? Like do tournaments want to go on a world tour or Panda Cup after that? Even if their intentions are like, even if people with VGBC, but it's just the idea of like, man, like I don't want my 100-person tournament to just get like deleted out of the sky over some crazy legal shit.
And it's just scary too, just because like this sets a scary precedent of like oh, like okay, we're for real, like we're gonna care, like if Nintendo starts caring about the fucking license shit, like if this is the precedent that gets set, it's like, oh, like any big tournament, like at all, like even like like any major, even if it's not on any of the circuits, like I mean, even like Panda was threatening to like shut down any tournament that wasn't a part of their circuit, and like it just sets like a scary precedent of like that being said, I think one detail that we haven't talked about was that there was a step back from Nintendo that like there was a follow-up Kotaku article where someone from Nintendo was like, yo, so we like told VGBC that like 2023 like they can't do that shit, but we didn't tell them that 2022 like that we would cancel it. Granted, VGBC then responded that like you definitely basically threatened us. You just said like read between the lines like that's not how it's gonna be anymore or whatever. And like they didn't directly say that they were getting canceled or whatever. And I guess that's where like the missing information is, and like that's why like this like it's a scary precedent is that like we can't tell if Nintendo is gonna be like all of a sudden more aggressive now about like not wanting to stream events, or like if or maybe if it was just Panda, like all of Panda's influence was what caused like 2022 specifically to be canceled or whatever. But it's just like a little scary, and I think that's like probably the biggest anxiety that people are experiencing is that like we just don't quite know what this means now, because like a lot of what's happened in the past is like even 2013 and like Big House 10 were like the big ones that like shut things down, and I guess like there was always an anxiety of like what if this means that this is how it's going to always be from now on. But I think both of those times it turned out that like they kind of just shut down the big thing and then they let go immediately after. Especially for Big House 10, I think was the scary one, because like that was Slippy. So it's like, oh, like are they gonna like try to cancel Slippy, like any event that has Slippy or whatever? But it seems like that's not the case. And they've been really hands off with it. As as long as we don't like say like the word Slippy on stream or whatever. There's like a lot of like funny things that streams have done to like avoid like Slippy being mentioned or whatever. But yeah, basically it's still, regardless, like it's been a while, I guess, since like we've really like had it like in front of our face, like, oh, Nintendo does not with us, and so it is just like a scary time, I think, right now, just to be like, what if they keep going? Is this like a one-time thing again, or not a one-time thing? Because obviously it's not a one-time thing. I'm sure in the future there will be another one that they cancel or whatever. But I guess it's just scary, like not knowing exactly like God, it even sucks too for like people like big sponsor trying to buy into to Smash. Like they don't want they don't want to give a bunch of money to like a tournament that's could just get canceled anyway. So like it's just like such a big setback, and it's so sad, and it's very scary to be, especially like professional players, like literally our job. So like it's really anxiety inducing, being like, what is
Yeah,
it? What does it mean?
you plan around all this shit, and then something
Yeah.
like, bro, I was gonna buy my ticket to World Tour yesterday, and then
Especially, I feel bad for a lot of the Ultimate players. Like they really. If there's one thing that I give credit to Ultimate players for, they can travel all around the world for it. Like they don't give a. They go to every continent,
right,
and I've seen like a lot of them talking about how they were trying to specifically qualify for the World Tour, or even the people who aren't like close to like the Americas or whatever. Like I know a lot of people like I saw like people from Australia like Sock like he was like, dude, like Smash World Tour was like that's the only way I get to go to America is Smash World Tour.
right. And then also Spark, I remember, I mean, he's not overseas, but I
Yeah,
remember he said, I just gotta grind it and no life it and go to every tournament so I can qualifies, and then boom.
gets completely destroyed.
Yeah,
It's
just yeah,
so
it's
sad.
tough. It's tough.
Generally speaking, I agree with all the sentiments that Magi and Brandon are saying. Nintendo historically has like in the worst way possible, like sabotage. Like EVO 2013, they've been doing that for years, and they're doing the same methodology. Just like last second, like quietly sabotage. We really just want Nintendo just to leave us alone.
Right.
And it's really shitty that it happened once again, and it's really kind of the worst case scenario because Panda is officially working with Nintendo, but Panda is like apparently like the mafia in terms of like how
I
they
mean,
try to
yeah, I feel like they just lost all credibility as far as like
so
seriousness in
really,
the community.
it's really like the worst case scenario for like Melee fans, the players, and almost everyone involved. Like because of what Panda did, they not only screwed like a lot of Melee, like you can argue it was like the circus was like one step forward, but it's like more than two steps back. This is pretty bad, and Panda also just they also play themselves too. Like it's just bad all around.
Yeah, they fucked up so bad.
Let's be clear here. We're just gonna speak on that the Allen guy. Everybody,
Yeah, Allen guy.
The actual workers at Panda, I'm sure they're chill. I'm sure obviously like Cody's with Panda, Plus with Panda, TK and Coney, those are good guys. Like they with Panda, like so.
Right.
I don't want to just
that's
disparage.
basically what I meant.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I know what you meant, but I just want to make it clear for the viewers, like we're just talking about the CEO dude apparently, like.
Yeah, it does suck because like I think we all understand we're talking about Alan, but it sucks because some people are pissed and they're directing it towards like the players. Like Fluff can't do a damn thing about this. Like there's no reason to go like over him, but yeah, it's definitely important. It's true, and it's also frustrating. Like even that, it's like so many people at Panda get screwed over because of this one dude. It's like
Yeah, nah, it's tough. It's so sad. I was thinking too, like low key. I ain't no legal personnel. None of us are. So before but I was like, yo, is this extortion? I was like, look, bro. I was like, yo, is this not the same thing as like, a big thing in like, I guess what is it like, street culture is when you go to somebody's neighborhood or their turf that you check in with people that are from that area. And I feel like that was Alan doing that. He was trying to make sure people check in. Like, yo, if you host a tournament, you gotta do it through us. And if you
he was definitely
shutting that shit down.
He was some shady shit.
Let me find out. This dude is also, this is just some survival of the fittest tactics right here, man. This business game is a cold game. I will say, and I've been saying this, but I don't think I've ever said this on camera before. A lot of times, and I've fallen prey to it too. We all have. Somebody comes in the Melee scene, flashing money, saying they want to change stuff, and we don't know their history, their background, or their pedigree aside from what they tell us. And I'm not saying that they don't not coming from like their intent isn't good, but sometimes, man, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it makes me skeptic. How many times you see a fucking org come in here, yo, we're gonna sponsor this, and then 2 years later, these motherfuckers just Houdini out the spot and disappear, bro. So I'm kind of like skeptic of like all these companies who randomly just like put their foot in for like 6 months and just think, oh, okay, we're cool. Like VGBC, they got that because they earned that through the report and years for good and bad with the community. Same with BTS. Like these groups have been around for years, damn near decades at this point, to pivot the direction of the Smash community, and help us leverage it. But when you just have people coming in and out, and I'm not saying, I guess he's been playing for a long time, Panda, a lot of orgs are new. I ain't trying to knock nobody for like getting a fresh start, but it just sometimes for me, I be questioning it because especially as long as I've been playing, Johnny, I'm sure you could agree. You just seen it so many times, man. So many times, and either these people are just on something, it's like a power trip or ego trip sometimes, or they just don't know what they're doing. So I'm just always weary. I don't wanna print that onto other people trying to start something for the greater good of Melee, but I'd be a fool if I fucking didn't question, yo, bro I known this dude for 2 months and he know everybody I know. It's just like, it makes you think sometimes. And also, all money ain't good money and all publicity is not good publicity. I'm a believer in that because you think Alan wants this type of publicity? This publicity could kill his whole business, man. And I mean, if what he did was true, rightfully so. I'm not gonna just like, I still want to wait. I want to hear what the other side, like what's going on. Maybe there's some context I don't know. But it's a fucked up situation, and like I said earlier, I don't know what bro is gonna say to get him out of this one. If this dude gets out of this with his words, that's dangerous. He is crafty. But I just think given all the people that have come out and just said how they feel, it just really sucks for the workers there, man. Because I don't know what they're gonna do. Like straight up, a lot of people are out of jobs and opportunities all over, just like low-key greed for real. Competition makes you stronger. Like, you think that Panda Cup would be as solid as it was if the World Tour wasn't a thing? They would be a lot more lazier if they could be, but because they got competition and tournaments that aren't on the circuit or whatever, or Panda Cup doing their thing, they got to be on point. But when you try to monopolize and get everybody out of the way, I'm just glad people are, don't feel like we have to oblige to that shit. We don't, people, you got a voice. It's just crazy how like political playing a damn video game can get, I'm just trying to wave dash the L Council, man. I'm not, but at the same time, it's just like we're getting in trouble for it. You know what I'm saying? Like what? There's people doing way worse stuff. We're just over here playing video games. Keep an eye out, not only on just random faces, but then even the people who've been around, make sure they're good. Make sure. I think this is where communication comes in, because I feel like these other groups didn't really realize, that happened to me too, until they read the thing. So, talk to your other TOs, man. Sometimes, or players talk to each other. Commentators, everybody. It's times where I'll have conversations with some homies about how much we getting paid, so to make sure somebody's not getting hoed or I'm not getting hoed. And I think communication puts it to perspective to where everybody like knows the deal, So if somebody is doing something kind of like shady, it could be caught. And I feel like this is a combination of, if this dude, what he did is true, is a combination of just people don't want to be that person and blow up the spot, so they don't say anything. And a combination of just this dude having too many yes man, having like too many people not telling him like, hey man, what you're doing is fucked up, But yeah, I don't want to tangent, it's it's my 2 cents. I hope
I agree with that. Like in this case, I think because no one wants to get like ruin it for everybody, like, because Nintendo is involved with Panda, right? And like the circuits are big, no one wants to like ruin things for everybody. But yeah, I think communication in the future would be a lot better. It shouldn't come to this point where everyone's staying silent, and then all of a sudden a week before like the biggest event of the year, like things go to shit. So I do think like Nintendo's helping us. While they're finally doing something, we should like stay quiet. We should just have good discourse, so that if people are being thugs, and trying to coerce people into like only going to certain events or killing the other events. I think it should never get to that point again. Yeah.
I don't know how that's not extortion, bro.
It's
Somebody,
something.
if you know law in the YouTube comments, let me know, bro. I swear that is like coercion or like motherfuckers get locked up for shit like that. Like actually,
The main takeaway, or not even necessarily the takeaway, I think the word to go from here is like where I see it, and like I think one person that like has definitely like encapsulated how I think we should go about it is Scar. Like Scar popped off today. I don't know if y'all saw.
Yeah, I
He
was
went
like,
super ham, and I thought it was really interesting just because like Scar like he always shows up for shit like this. Like that's whatever he's like he gets fired of. And that's whenever like it's kind of like I think he really represents like the soul of Melee, kind of just like this is that like people like him and like what he represents. I think is like that's like a lot of the reasons why like we make it through shit like this because this shit's happened so many times and like we still manage to like we just care enough about the game. Like at the end of the day, we are just playing video games and we're down to like fucking die on this hill. Like we'll go super duper ham. So I think like supporting the game and caring about the game and like it is scary. There's like a lot of things that we don't know of like how this is gonna play out and shit, but like it's always like that and we always manage to find a way to make it through. So I think it's just important to just like it's like of course normal to feel anxious about all this shit, but don't be too scared. Like we'll be okay. It sucks, and obviously I super agree with Johnny and you about just like we just got to be more careful and we have to talk more about this shit. I think because this one was so influenced by Panda, like this one like hurt a little bit more than usual. Like at least like the previous times it was just Nintendo being Nintendo. It's like like, that sucks. But like the fact that this was like basically brought up because like Panda fucking wanted to like get more power. It's like I think it's gonna change our perspective a lot of like how we handle Nintendo and like Nintendo sponsored events and companies that are willing to like go this ham for their own event. So stay passionate and big companies trying to do this dumb shit all the time.
Yeah, the Melee community, I'm a veteran of the community, so is Brandon to a lesser extent, Magi. Melee is born from grassroots and we're very resilient. And even though what happened was obviously very bad, Melee has a lot of strength from being so grassroots, and we've bounced back from a lot of worse things. And it's not like we got knocked into like the Stone Age because of this, because we still have a lot of things that didn't exist when I first started playing, such as like Twitch, a way bigger fan base, and all that. So I'd say don't focus on saying like hashtag Nintendo. Just we should just be focusing on how this wouldn't happen again in the future. And obviously Nintendo showed that they can partner up with people to make circuits actually happen. Too bad it was Panda, and too bad Panda was trying to strong arm other people and ruin it for everybody. But I really think it's a good lesson learned, and a lot of good can come out of this, and we shouldn't look at it like, oh, we're screwed, like Smash and Java,
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you guys. I think for me going forward, if you feel like a group or just like especially someone of like status is like an Allen, right? Like a doctor, CEO, somebody like this. If you feel like they're off their pivot, meaning if you feel like they are acting funny, call them on that shit. I don't know if it would have been a good play to do that, but at least it puts attention to it so people can see it or at least try to see it. Like I was saying earlier, communicate with other TOs, other players, other commentators about this type of stuff because, it's important because, somebody could be getting put in a bad situation without their knowledge, or it could be you don't know. So it's always good to communicate to make sure that everybody is on a similar page and to make sure that everybody is being treated like, fairly. I don't know, just like with the new, when you see sponsors come in and out and stuff like that, it's great. But then I would really implore to ask, and this applies even to Beast Coast, like everybody, like what is your intent out of this, right? Because obviously it's to grow or like pour money into this, blah, blah, blah. But, a lot of these people have been playing before all this stuff came, before it was the idea to even have sponsors and money and stuff or do this for a living. The fact that we could do that, attempt to do that, is a blessing. My biggest fear is people going all in with the hopes that, hey man, I could be sponsored and play, do this as a professional career to only get strong, like what Johnny said, to get strong armed by people who are just trying to take control. So just, I just think asking questions is there's nothing wrong in that. I'm not saying you got to be abrasive and just like talk shit, but at least you got to at least let these people know, like, hey man, why is this like this? Like, why, what's the deal here? And I feel like you get more context into a situation. And I think one thing that I wish I probably could have did more, it's something I tend to not do until shit already hits the fan, is like speak up more. Like I felt like from commentary, like I swear I was like either shadow banned, or they had like a list where Panda would never put me on any event, right? And I thought that was weird. And at first I thought it was just me like tweaking, like, yo, maybe you're just being like extra, maybe you're being a diva. Because I had talked to Al, he asked me to commentate the circuit back in the day, and I was like, oh sure, just let me DM me, never hit me up. And then I never commentated an event. I thought it was weird, given that, like, okay, I'm commentating Genesis Summits, like all these bigger tournaments, but then like they'd never even bothered to hit me, and I thought that was weird. So I talked to Vish about it, because I was like, yo, does this happen to you? And he was like, yeah, they never hit me up, they don't. He's like, it doesn't make any sense, blah 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 blah. And then he was like, are we banned? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe they just had a list. But the point being is, me communicating with Vish made me question like what was happening, right? Whether I did something to them or not is irrelevant. By the way, I'm not going to I have no ties to Panda Cup. I didn't sign up, nothing. Like I said, I have no contact with them. But it took me talking to Vish to realize, okay, something ain't adding up here. Because they would book, like, for example, they would put Phil to commentate and not me, which I kind of think is weird, right? Usually between me and Phil, it's like booking Toph without booking Scar, but Scar's down to do. Usually when that happens, Scar just can't go or doesn't want to go, but it's never because no one told him. So it's just a weird look, right? And basically I'm saying this to say communication helped me like get to that consensus. I know me and you, Johnny, we've talked about like esports stuff together just to try to be on the same page and know what's going on. So at least we're not going in these situations like completely blind, right? And I just think we need to do more of that. And I don't think it's nothing wrong with questioning these bigger groups. I mean, and as far as Nintendo, Nintendo gonna be Nintendo at this point. I don't really know what else there is to say about them. I feel like we kind of go through this every like 2-3 years with them. So they gonna do what they gonna do. And personally, man, I feel like they only stop us if we let it. So if they start cutting streams and stuff, I mean, they can do that, but like
Scar said that if they like cancel a stream, okay, like we'll show up to the venue anyway. We won't stream the game, but we'll just stream everyone being mad as fuck about like getting canceled in the first place.
And
like
real shit,
protest.
Real shit. You think Nintendo, bro? Like you think they want this type of smoke? Like you think they want to just hear everybody coming at their neck about events and just like make the PR worse? I don't know what they want. They might want that, but I just think ideally no business will want people just openly slandering them to a point where it just starts affecting their pockets. Like I said, I'm not in no legal stuff or business stuff, but I just think from like an optics view, like I don't think anybody will want to deliberately be viewed as the bad guy, but who knows? Also, like I said, how you treat people matters. Somebody tell Alan that. All money ain't good money. That's facts. If you feel like you're compromising something that you don't feel right with for monetary gain, I ain't knocking it. Sometimes we need the bag, and I get it. But just know, like, yo, all the money ain't good money. All publicity ain't good publicity. I think this is terrible for Panda. It's a terrible look for Melee. But I think we're going to bounce back because I got faith in this.
We always do.
Yeah. So, you guys just keep playing the game, man. Keep streaming, keep talking about showing combos, all that stuff, man. It all goes a long way. But I mean, if we wallow in defeat, like that's like the worst thing I think we could do. Like they can only control what they can. They can't stop our bodily autonomy. Like, and Bobby said, like if they come and start arresting people for playing Smash, like how much of a bad look is that? That's a terrible look. Yeah. I mean, you had to call police to stop people playing video games.
Well, regardless, much love to everybody. Thank y'all for watching. I'll do an outro, I guess. Thank y'all for watching. Hit the like notification bell, and follow Johnny, Magi, and myself. But you guys have a good day or night. Bye-bye.
Bye.